Oh, there's a live button. Okie dory. And there we go. Come on. We are live. Wow, that went fast. Welcome to it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Well, I'm not paying attention. That's when the button says live. Go figure. And tonight, we got a great show for you, as always, with my great co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for coming.
Cheers, everybody, and happy Tuesday. And for those of you that we haven't said Happy New Year to, Happy New Year. And we hope this year is at least as good or better than last year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, in one shape or way or form, I hope that, people can make it a better year. I mean, I know there's a lot of tragedy and people think about that stuff. I mean, people are going to lose their jobs and they're going to go hungry and they're, and all these things. But, make lemons in the lemonade and think of it like that. Say some, favor upon everybody, and that stuff will come back to, give you prosperity and so forth and so on. The world is what you make it, is it not?
Yeah, and one of the things, and in my old age, a penny saved is a penny earned, and that's a really old saying. But there are folks out there, and I used to be one of them. If I had $10 in my pocket, I'd spend $8.50 of it, and just it's just not worth it anymore. So nowadays I find ways to where I can save $8 or $10. And so, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And so I think people, here's a simple thing. When I was working all the time and riding around and doing carpentry work and stuff for folks, I was all the time stopping and getting a soda, at the store and a snack, right? And so, at the end of the day, I'd spent $10.
Yes.
And so I realized that I didn't have $10 to spend. So I got myself, I've already had a little cooler and I started buying drinks, and I could buy a whole 12 pack for less than $5 back then. And so a little bit of ice and some cooler thingies, and you pack your own drinks and whatever it is, and you save a lot of money. Now that's just one particular simple thing to do, but over the long haul, it saved me a lot of money. So especially when I didn't have it. So people are spending money that they just don't realize because it's out of habit. So
yeah, no, I
my friends, and you might be able to save some money.
I totally agree. I had the same thing when I came out west here. These guys would, we'd load up the truck. At the first job I had, we were water transfer, and we would load up the truck and get ready to go. And most of these guys were, unprepared. I'd bring up a packed lunch, a lot of food, a cooler full of stuff, sodas and food and canned goods and whatever. And needless to say, nobody likes to eat out of the can, but oh well. And so these guys, we get to the first gas station to gas up. And just like you said, they would all pile into the gas station, they got to get their chew and their smokes and their whatevers for the day. And they would get pieces of pizza and sandwiches for lunch. They would spend $25-$30, maybe more, each one of those guys. And they would come back with a sack full of stuff, chips and dips and whatever tickled their fancy, candy bars and, whatever. And I already had my stuff. I didn't need anything. I didn't even need to go into the gas station to buy all that stuff.
And they also paid a premium price for it too.
Yeah, and it was hard to resist. See,
Yep.
that's the thing, because they came in, they got in the truck with that smelling that pizza. Oh my gosh. And I'm thinking, oh, pizza, or whatever, the hot sandwich or whatever they were having, right? And and I'm realizing that, but I'm trying to avoid that. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, how much you spend every day? You just spent your first hour or two's wages on breakfast and some
Right.
chew or some cigarettes. And now you're going to have to work for 2 hours to pay for that. And I didn't. I'm making my first 2 hours and putting it in my pocket. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot to that. And of course, I still had to have food, but my food was a lot cheaper because, like you said, I went and bought stuff. I bought, big bottles of tea or soda or whatever I was drinking at the time. And then I would buy cans of, it was a can of Dinny Moore beef stew or something. We're kind of living on the road kind of thing.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, but we had a microwave on site so I could warm it up. And I'm thinking, my food's hot. And you got a piece of pizza that's cold now. You're trying to put it in the microwave or a sandwich. It really doesn't taste that good. Yuck. And then when their food ran out at the end of the day, guess who still had some?
Right.
Because I had a big cooler and I'd bring the cooler and have all that stuff in there. So yeah, a little
Yeah, I
preparedness.
used to do the same thing with coffee because, I like my coffee, and, you go into a place and $2 or $3 for a cup of coffee, and then it's in a container. And most of the time, I wouldn't get the large containers, but I made my own coffee, and and so I make me a cup in the morning that was to go. And then I took the rest of the pot and put it in my to go container, and I added my sugar and milk with it and gave it a nice shake. And I had coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that was still warm.
Yeah,
So, and it was coffee. I wouldn't have poured it out, but I mean,
yeah,
it was the pot that I made for that day. So there are a lot of ways to conserve.
yeah.
And
You
if,
get
it's not a matter, yep, exactly.
you get yourself one of these and you fill that son of a gun up and you got coffee all day.
Yeah,
And you look at this thing and you say, well, geez, that thing is expensive. Guess what, people? I bought this thing at a garage sale for $5. Yeah, $5. $5 I got that thing for. So
and the thing is though, once you buy it, it's going to save you money. If you use that thermos correctly, it's going to save you money. I mean, back in the days in the 20s and 30s when thermoses really started coming out, all them factory workers and stuff, they didn't have coffee machines. They didn't have vending machines. If you wanted something to eat, you was going to have to pack a lunch. You had a sack lunch. When I was
yeah,
going to school, even into high school, we had meals, but yeah, Tampa Catholic didn't have a real kitchen. It was sort of catered. And anyway, so I always took a sack lunch. So I
yeah,
could dictate by, hey, Mom, what are we having? Bologna or salami or,
yeah,
but anyway, so there are folks out there, they don't think twice about $1,000 cell phone
yeah,
because and there are folks out there that are just, if you're having monetary issues, please look at what you're actually, I got a nice cell phone that was for $80 on sale. Now I dropped it and broke the glass, but I taped it over and it's still working. But you know, and it's it works for my benefit, and I pay less than $40 a month for my service, and so but there are other folks who are, oh, I got a deal, it's only $65 and I got unlimited this and I can do this with my phone. And yeah, but do you really need it? Just be careful. So folks who are tight on money, go back over your stuff and see where you can save. Doesn't
yeah,
mean you have to give up everything and starve, but
absolutely. Absolutely. And in the summertime, I would go around to all the garage sales and buy all those DVDs for $2. And, sure, yeah, I spent 40, $50. Sometimes, during the summer, I might have spent 60 or 70. But, in the end, I had so many movies come wintertime that, I could watch them all, and pick and choose and, wow, look at this movie, look at that movie. Because in the summertime, I had no, I didn't have time to watch a movie. But I'd go to these garage sales and I would buy up movies.
Yeah.
And then, here's the funny part. I still have them today,
Right. And you also helped out the local economy,
Well, yeah, I mean,
you helped to recycle something, and that's not a bad thing neither. So,
yeah, and in the end, I put them in these. I bought I trashed some of the cases, but I bought one of these things, and
oh yeah,
and then I can page through there like a book,
right.
and look, I got a lot of movies, and it takes up less space. I got several of those, and $2 a piece here and there, and it was good. I didn't have to pay postage on it either. But
right,
but look, when I want a movie, I got hundreds of them to choose from, hundreds of them, and I don't have to pay Netflix. I don't have to pay HBO or Disney or whatever ones they got out there. I have them all. And if am I greedy? See, that's the part. Oh, Netflix has got a new show on, Netflix has got a new movie, such and such got new blah, blah, blah that I got to catch. You got a season something they're coming out with. Well, did you ever think that you're paying for that service and you're watching a couple series, but in about a couple of years, that series comes out on DVD, and then you could buy the whole series, all 7 seasons or whatever it is, for $30. Oh, that's about what your Netflix subscription is now. So really, you're paying every month, and at the end of the year, you gave them a lot of money.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the end of the year and looking at my checkbook and everything, I'm like, I've had Netflix, oh God, for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's just I've got it. I keep paying for it. But over the years, it started out at $9.99, right? And now it's up to $16 a month.
Yep.
Well, Hulu, I started out a long time back, and it was $9.99. It's up to $16 now. So what used to be $20 a month is now $32.
Yeah.
So and I'm questioning, like, is there really, that much on Hulu that I really like to watch?
Yeah. Which one's cheaper now? I mean, the thing is do you both need both Hulu and Netflix? Where like you said, for a $20 bill, you get them both. That sounds pretty reasonable. But now you're paying 30 some odd dollars for the two. And can you watch that much? They probably both got the same stuff on.
Not really, but some of the things that I've noticed on Hulu, for example, it just doesn't suit my taste. It's a lot of murder mystery, and I'm just not a murder mystery. You've seen one, you've seen them all. I'm not into horror and terror and a good fantasy or a good swashbuckler or something,
Yes.
But but here's the thing, that if you've got Roku, which most smart TVs now have them. I had a Roku box back before anybody knew what the heck they were. And so there's so much free television that, okay, so you got to watch a commercial or two. Well, it's a lot easier to watch these like on Tubi. And the amount of movies, old ones, new ones, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff out there, and all you got to do is watch a couple of commercials and even tell you how long it's going to last, kind of thing. I mean, and so, but and it's free. So
there you go. But see, and then there's a solution, you know. There's always a solution. There's something out there free or something you can do to make things a little bit better. And a lot of people don't want to think about it. I just pay for it. It's fine. I've had that for blah blah blah. And it's fine if you want to throw your money away, you know, but do you really need it? Are you really gonna miss it?
right. And the other thing too is these days you can, you know, like I've caught up with everything on Hulu. So I went through Hulu and thought to myself, there ain't nothing for me to watch here. So what if I say, okay, so I drop my subscription for a couple of months. I can always pick it up.
Yeah.
If I'm really missing something or blah, 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 and they'll offer you deals to please come back and all that, you know, so, all right. But the other side of the coin is, you know, here because of my back situation and my heart attack, you know, I'm stuck here at the house and local television don't work for me. So there are a lot of stories that I just like to listen to. You know, if it's got a good storyline, if it's a cartoon or a anime or whatever it is. So I like a good storyline just to listen to.
Absolutely.
But you know, to spend that much money, you know, need to reconsider myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, exactly.
well, it's only $16 a month. Yeah, but times 10 months, that's $160.
That's right. And what could you do with $160, you know?
In this day and time, pay for hospital bills.
Yeah. Well, and that's, it brings us back to, you know, our original Indian stuff that we talk about. And it's like those guys didn't have TV. They lived, you know, they didn't have, you know, all the convenience and hoopla stuff. They sat around, talked with their neighbors. They talked and told stories. You know, they interacted with family members and other people. They went outside and did things and played games and whatever to entertain themselves, especially in the wintertime. You know, imagine there's really probably not a lot you can do in the wintertime as being an Indian.
Yeah,
You know, so
if you've ever seen a teepee, you know, it's nice to be in one when it's cold, because I've been in one when it was a blizzard outside. So
yeah,
but you know, one of the things was, especially during the pioneer times, you know, if it was the winter time, they all sat around the fireplace, you know,
yeah,
and eating dinner, and there's a stew that's kind of sitting there, you know, and there's some hot water for coffee or whatever, some tea.
yeah.
But they discussed the day's events.
Hmm. Yeah,
Well, how did it go today? How, you know, well, I had to go and plow up there at the, you know, that lower 20, and the mule just gave me all kinds of dickens, you know, wouldn't hold up and or, you know, whatever it was.
yes, exactly. You know, and nowadays people don't. They're texting each other and playing on their phone. I don't know how many times I go to the grocery store and people are waiting in line at the grocery store, and instead of having conversations or looking at each other, they're doing this. You know, it's like, really? And then I look around, next guy's doing the same thing. The lady's on the phone. She, you know, she's pushing her cart, and she's got her headphones on. She's talking away to, you know, looks crazy because she's just talking to air, you know. Or there's other people who are, yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get it. They're FaceTiming each other as they walk around the grocery store. I'm like, really? Really? You know, you can't wait till you get out of the grocery store, or you know, really, you got to
Oh,
talk
the
to someone.
husband and the wife, or the boyfriend, girlfriend. Well, I'm standing here in front of the pickle section. What kind did you say you wanted? You know, well, they got the slice, they got the dill, they got the, do you want the butter slices? Is that what you,
Yeah. But then they keep on talking to the rest of the store till they get to the checkout lady, and then they're holding their phone in the hand. Tell them, hey, you know, I'm getting checked out here. Just hold on, you know. And I'm thinking, really? Okay, enough of my ranting.
I
You
know,
know,
but it's a crazy world. And I've noticed that there are some people who are backing off of their devices because I think they're looking around at other people and seeing how stupid it is. I mean, how much of it to walk around the store with the speaker phone on and talking to somebody, and and everybody in the store can hear your conversation, and whether you hear the other person, they can hear you, you
yeah,
know. And so it's like, are you not embarrassed by this?
I know.
I
I
watched
know.
something the other day and it was a little comedy thing, and it was like, the question was, how come people these days are not embarrassed by some of this stuff? I mean, just
Because
back
there's so
I mean, I'm embarrassed today, and it's supposed to be all this liberal stuff, and I'm like,
they're
God,
just so wrapped up in their little world that
did they really do that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, let's say hi to everybody. We got Witchy Moon in the house. Michelle Can-Am Free. Much love to you too. Listening and driving, so be careful. Seeker of Truth says, hey there, I'm going to be listening and working in the kitchen, cooking dinner. Great. I owe you a phone call. Simply Wicked. Thank you for coming. She says, $7 for a dozen eggs or $7 for a head of cabbage. Yeah, things are not cheap. So you have to buckle down. Desert Rose is in the house, and Temperance, nice to see you. Lucky Stone is here for his weekly get together, so he can hear you tell a story and learn some information.
Thank God I've got neighbors that have chickens.
Yes,
exactly. I mean,
exactly.
I still buy a dozen eggs every once in a while, but thank God I've got neighbors with chickens. Well, Dave, you need to, it might be a half a dozen here or there, but God bless them.
Yep, yep. Hey, there's Max Vision remote view class. Thank you for coming. It was a good remote view class last week. I really enjoyed that. I got kind of close on a few of those things, and it really improves your mind, except that I got really tired. I had to go to bed. I was wiped out. But hey, I stuck around for a while because I really like doing that. It's just I get tired. We all got to work. Let's see. So, I found some stuff in here, and in this old book. I got this old book, and it's kind of brittle, so I got to be careful with it. The Indian, the north of the Northwest there. It's when is this? This is from 1900. And it's talking about where the Indians came from, or how much area they had, and how we've lost. And I mean, it's got all the different kinds of Indians, which I thought was kind of crazy, because they named all these places after Indians, and a lot of these Indians are extinct, like Wisconsin. That was an Indian tribe, but they went extinct, yet the state is still named after them. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of these rivers and things that we know of today were named several different names before we even came along. They were named an Indian name. Then the white man came, they named them something, and then they were renamed again and again and again until finally they had a name that stuck. So let's see. Well, where do I want to start? We'll just start in the beginning here about this. Okay, the Indian was never negative in his character. His place in American history is as distinct as that of the early Dutch and Scotch, Irish, or the English. His origin is still a matter of ethological dispute. He was writing rude poetry before England received her Magna Carta. He understood some musical notes and made use of them before the Psalms were chanted at Rome. He was worshiping the sun and the moon and the stars when Egyptians were still pondering over the scarf of the Milky Way, thrown across the face of the heavens. He had literature of legend and myth as old as the Nibean lay. His original language of love was as pure, as sweet, as touched by the highest animations of the heart, as English wooer ever gave to English maid. He lived as an individual of wonderful physical endurance and a more than a primitive brain power. What survives of him today is the descendants that miserably crawl out their existence, is scarcely an apology for what he was. As the Iroquois, the Illini, the Sioux, the Potawatomi, the Menominee, the Chippewa, and the Arapaho, he was imaginative, forceful, brave, yet neither a demigod nor a groveling human. Wholesale euthologies are no more to be heaped up upon him, for what he was a wholesale condemnation for what he is. He belonged to the time when the youth of the earth was upon the continent of North America, and the strong winds of the new civilization were sweeping down upon him with a warming as to his end. He filled his place in the work of evolution of man, as man shall be, when time is no more. In his place has come to the rush and roar of the railroad, the throb of a great engines of manufacture, the crush of a new race, pushing onward and onward to the same goal his eyes were set for while he was master of the forest and plain. I think that was just so beautifully written.
Yeah.
Isn't that so true? You
Yeah.
know, he was there for all of this, and then we came in and destroyed it all, put in train tracks and crap like that. And, I'm going to skip a few of this stuff.
And to think of how many
What? Go ahead.
and to think of how many species have gone extinct since the Europeans, the boat people made it to the Americas.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just species after species after species, and
Yeah, exactly. The white man just could not figure out when to stop shooting, and when, hey, look at that. There's something that moves. Let's shoot it,
and when to stop cutting.
Yeah, we cut down all the trees. Well, let's move on. Cut some more. There's more over there. Reminds me of that. Yeah, it's progress. It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss movie where they cut down all the trees, and I forget what it was, and he kept saying the trees, the trees, the trees. I don't remember what that one was, but that was a good one. I liked that one. This is just a little something about the Great Lakes, and I thought this was really kind of cool too. Historical evidences of multiplying as the truth of the assertions. In 1615, the French traveler Champlain, visiting the Huron tribe of the Indians of the St. Lawrence Valley, drew a map of the country, which they said lay to the west of their land. They told him of a lake called Kitchigumi, and which he named Grand Lac. This lake was visited by Alchuez in 1666 and called Lake Tracy. Hempin saw it in 1680 and called it Lake Canode. Schoolcraft was upon its waters in 1819 and left it with the title Lake Algonga. This is the body of water now known as Lake Superior, and Champlain's rough map is one of the first evidences given to white men, not only of its existence, but of the great stretch of land lying south and west of its shores, known now as North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Isn't it amazing how every guy that come across it would just name it something different? I say this lake is going to be Robert V. Lake. Then you come by, well, no, this is going to be Hawkeye Two Feathers Lake. And then eventually, gets named something totally different. But it's just cool, how those things happen. But what I wanted to talk about is what I got.
By the way, just as a note, that's the same story. I mean, that's the same lake that was made famous by the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yes.
On the big lake, they call it Yagumi. The big lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early.
Wow.
Part of the song.
Yeah. I've heard that song before, but you must have listened to that a few times.
Yes. Yeah. I've played that song. Yeah. Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes, it is. Oh, I love that song. That was a good song. Okay, but tonight we're going to talk about something that the Indians had that and we're going to talk about something that we have and how it all fits together in modern day. And it's going to blow your mind.
Did the Indians have digital currency?
Pretty much. No, they didn't have digital currency.
I'm kidding.
We're going to talk about wampum. Wampum, yes, prehistoric wampum. And this goes back. Wampum is well, we're going to find out what wampum is. Wampum. Yeah, wampum. Shell beads have long had cultural significance to the Native Americans. Shell beads in the Northwest have been found that are 4,500 years old.
Northeast.
Northeast. Sorry, I'm looking over. Okay, and what is it? Wampum is when they make these belts out of beads or shells. Originally, they were made out of shells, as you can see. Anyway, and they were traded. They were made of different sizes and colors, and they told stories on these belts. As you can see, this one here is of friendship. They were big, long belts, etc., etc. Okay, I'm going to switch to the next slide. Iroquois wampum. The Iroquois had no writing system, so they depended upon the spoken word to pass down their history, traditions, and rituals. As an aid to memory, the Iroquois used shells and beads, which were arranged on belts in designs representing events of significance. And as you can see, so, you have this belt, and that brings up a conversation, or it has a meaning, or vice versa. I don't think that one means anything much, but, as you can see, there was different belts, different beads, meaning different things. If you don't have a language, you're gonna have some sort of meaning behind it. Very intricate. Takes forever probably to make one of those things.
Not really. You'd be surprised. If I've seen some of these women string some of these things together, and they're like lightning fast.
Yeah, but you gotta, to make one, you gotta have the shells. Here's shells.
Oh, if you've got everything ready, they can string them quickly.
Oh, yeah, I imagine. But you gotta have holes in the shells. You gotta have certain colors, and you gotta have everything ready. You're right. You gotta have it all prepared, and then you can probably put them together pretty fast. But as you can see, there's little holes in all of these, and you got the colors, and they're all polished down already.
And some of them are carved.
Yes,
If
carved.
you look almost dead center, there's a long one, that one right there. You can see where it's been carved.
Yep. Yeah, this one too. Yeah.
So, and they've had, eyelets put into the end of those also, by the way, but
yeah.
those are, those beads right there, those shells right there are current. Those are not old, because I can tell by the way the holes are drilled.
Well, the
and
brass
that
fittings.
and the ring on the end there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The little eyelet.
But as you see, go back in time, and here they are holding their wampum belts, going through the different things they had. And you notice that looking like this one, the different shoe wear. I love these old photos because you can see these guys got tie-up shoes. This guy looks like he's wearing moccasins.
Yeah.
They're wearing them around their necks, holding them in their hands. They got a pile of them here. So anyway, this one could have been for friendship. This one looks pretty old. But as I was going to say before, see here, 1764. Notice the 1764.
Yep. And notice on the right hand figure in the center, there's a heart.
Oh yeah, right here.
Now I don't know what the other one's got, but it's the one on the right's got a heart.
Yes, it does. Huh. Didn't notice that. Good catch. Good catch. So here, these are little V's, and I don't know what that one is. But
1764.
could be about the same. But anyway,
I mean, that's what it says, 1764.
Yeah. I don't know if that means the year or if that's for something different. But here they are. You're making it up, like you were saying. The beads are strung in between. Thread goes through each one of them, and leather strips in the middle.
And a lot of those are bone, made out of bone.
Yep, bone.
Now they do have plastic ones that represent the bone now, but those right there, and I can tell because of if you zoom in just a little bit, you can tell by the discoloration. And to the right, just a little bit more where you got it there, you can see one that's sort of brownish, and see how they're discolored? That's actual bone. Those are bone beads.
Nice.
Now I don't know if you're fixing to get into this part or not, but and those at the top up there, those look like rocks though.
Yeah, the purple ones, or it could be shells of some sort.
Yeah, they could be.
They're purplish. But let's see. I think that's all I got on there. But here's the thing with those. So these guys, now this is the funny part I found out with them, is the Indians were they had the wampum belts, right? And just like anything else, as I read, so they would make these things up, and then they would trade them between each other, or they would trade them to the white man. And so they became like currency, right? And the white man would take them and bring them back to, England or whatever, and trade them all over the world. And, kind of like, look what I got, kind of souvenir kind of thing, right? And because they were valuable, and the Indians were trading beads or corn and stuff for beads and wampum, and the white man's giving them, beads and things so they can make more of these. And they were going to the seashore and picking up shells and bones and things like that. As I read about this stuff, the Indians were doing this so much, they were neglecting other things because this became like their currency of trade. Remember, they had no money, they had no gold, so they had to have things to trade, right?
Yep.
So they neglected doing other things and started making wampum belts, so much so that they inflated, or they inflated the price to the point where they weren't worth anything anymore. We got so many, we got thousands of them. Oh, well, we don't want thousands anymore.
No,
Well,
because they were the originals, not that the other ones that were made, like, ooh, let me make another belt here because we got, we traded something for it. But the old ones that really meant something,
yeah,
their value was only, to the white man, it meant nothing.
yeah,
But absolutely, it was currency, because one of the stories, I think it was last week, this one guy had found this thing, and it was, it was, anyway, it was great wampum, and after he had it, he was considered, really rich because of the wampum that he had. And so it's like, so it was almost as valuable before horses got there. It was wampum was that valuable.
yeah, exactly. So like I said, the Indians were smart about it, and as I read that, so they just started making a bunch of it. But then they overmade,
They crashed the market.
and they crashed the market. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yep.
Let's just print up some more trillions of dollars, people. And eventually, well, there's too many dollars out there. Now
And
what?
see, and every culture can do it. There's a place down in Mexico where a friend of mine went down and worked a gold mine down there. And Toluca, Mexico, I think it is. But anyway, they've got a lot of silver. They've got silver mines there. And you can get intricate pieces of silver for like $10 American. And people go, well, how come? Well, because it's rocky and it's a desert, and the only thing they got is silver and what they make out of it, and they can't eat it. So they will do anything to sell their wares, and somebody in the States, because I know somebody who used to trade in this, and there are certain pieces. Here, for example, I got this pipe that was given to me as a gift years ago. It's solid silver, and this was like $5 in Mexico, and it's like $50 here, or more, but it's solid silver, so, but anyway, yeah. So, and it people will use what they got, hoping that they can get something for it as well. So, depending on, the wampum was made in some of the stories, by the women.
Yes.
Because the men were out hunting. And
well, yeah, you got to figure the men were out hunting the beaver pelts or the hides of the deer and all that stuff. Remember, we talked about that a lot. That was their other form of money. So they're out killing all their animals so that they can get the hides to trade for guns and pots and pans and knives and axes. And the women are out there making wampum belts so they can trade for other stuff. But in the long run, well, now they're not growing corn. They're not,
you know what?
Building anything. They're not doing anything. They're trying to start a little industry, so they can have cool stuff.
Exactly. And so what Creator gave them, and to all the native peoples, they had everything that they needed.
Yeah.
And so until the white man came, which is really a shame, but until the white man came, then they wanted money.
Yes.
Then they wanted goods to trade, where before, if they, they still traded, don't get me wrong, the natives have been trading and bartering for a long time, but it's usually hides, or if somebody had made a pair of buckskin a dress or shirt or something like that. They traded that for maybe a bow or a tomahawk, or, so there was a lot of trading and a lot of value in the things that were made by the craftsmen. Having been to many powwows myself and having seen these flint knappers and folks who make these beautiful blades that are this big, and look like look like it came from the bottom of a river, but they made these things.
Yep.
And so, in their craftsmanship, they trade still to this day. But it wasn't until the white man came that they started trading things more because, well, I want a new steel axe. I don't want this rock hammer anymore, I want a gun, or I want ammunition, or whatever. So the values changed.
Yep.
When white man got here. And so as the values changed, so did the things that were natural to the natives and cherished. I mean, the guy would never give up his wampum. I mean, it was his. It showed his status. It showed how rich he was. It was like driving around in a Cadillac, back in the day when a Cadillac really meant something. But think of what Cadillac with them big old horns on the front.
Well, but just think how long it took to make a belt by, cutting those little bones, finding the right ones with the holes, finding the shells, and putting the little holes in there,
and drilling holes in those shells, even though shells aren't that hard, to drill them out by hand is not an easy feat.
Yeah.
Now you got drill bits and,
polishing them up and doing all that stuff.
But back in the day, you had to drill them holes with a piece of rock and a stick and do like this,
Well, and plus you had to go out and find those shells. I see Lucky Stone says wampum was made from Atlantic surf clams, also called quad dogs, at least in the southern New England area. So they had to go down there to the ocean there and find the exact same shells. You couldn't just find a blue one here and a white one there and a blue one and a purple one and put it all together. You can't make a pattern that way. You have to find all blue or all purple or all white or whatever. So
down here in our area, I mentioned this before, but it's about 1.5 miles from my house here. It's called the Thigpen Trail, and it goes all the way up and through the Appalachians and all the way up into Vermont, up and supposedly all the way into Maine. But the stories around here are that the Cherokee, of course, the Creek and the Seminole were already here, but that the Cherokee would come down from the mountains during the wintertime. And when the snapper and everything is running in the fall, and in the wintertime, they'd come down and cast net fish in the Big Bend area of Florida, and where St. Mark's Refuge is and all this kind of stuff. So while they were down here catching fish and drying it, they were packing it up and sending it back to the mountains to the folks who couldn't come down. But during that time, that's when they also got shells. While they were fishing, they were collecting shells. So they were making their wampum and taking shells back with them. From coming down here to go fishing. So, and then there were also those southern tribes that, because they lived so close to the ocean, it was easy for them to get the shells. And so it was easy, they could trade to the northern tribes for things like pipestone.
Oh, yeah.
Because pipestone you can't get down here, And so if you wanted a good peace pipe kind of thing, then you might have to have 2 or 3 wampum belts to trade for a piece of pipestone from up north. Just as an example of something they would trade for.
Oh, I totally get you there, So yeah. I got one more little short bit here that I'm going to read out of this, and Ben, I'll turn it over to you. It says here, the Dutch were settling Cape Cod in South Africa when the French explorers came with messages and gifts of these 3 Indian families, all history as to the relation between the white man and the Northwestern Indians during the 17th century bears evidence that they acted with much fairness toward each other. It was not until after the advent of the English, who disputed the right to the territory with the French, and then the incoming of the Americans, who drove out the French, English, and the Indians. And the record of the savage warfare commerces, which is recrossed with the slash of the tomahawk and the stain with powder and blood from the knife of a massacre. It is useless to say that which was wrong. Since the formation of the United States government, the American people have paid the Indians an average of $1 million per year for the land taken. The Indian, this was in 1900. The Indian, in his return, when treated with the same honesty, the same decency that characterizes the ordinary relations of two white citizens, responded with a loyalty equal to that of his white brother. Each race, as temptation came, was treacherous, bloodthirsty, and cruel. Each paid the penalty for its wrongdoing, but that the earliest settlers on this continent recognized the Indian as an equal is evidenced by the first treaty ever made with a tribe, the Delawares, in which they were conceded to be citizens entitled to representation in Congress. Unfortunately, this good intent never passed it in effect beyond the writing in the treaty. If the Indians had been exterminated as the result of the advance of the new civilization, the people of the civilization have paid a fearful price for their victory. And there you go. So the Delawares, they gave, a treaty, said they were going to have to be rights as citizens and the whole 9 yards. And what did they get? They got nothing.
Well, look at what the Cherokee had. The Constitution was modeled after some of the Cherokees' Constitution and civil rights and that kind of thing, and and look what they did to the Cherokee. They drove them to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they didn't drive them, but
you made them walk. But yeah, those are the things that are going on. So I'm going to pull this up. I want to say Deborah Sloan is in the house. Let's see. I think Joanne Dancing Gypsy. Thank you for coming.
I want to kind of put in here. We badmouth the English and the Spaniards a lot, but and it might seem like, oh, we're just picking on them white people who came over here. But when you consider what the United States looked like back then and the resources, you just have to shake your head and go, listen, we might not want to admit this, but it's true. Them folks came over here and murdered and plundered and look at what we got. Just look at New York City and places, where the native peoples, they still don't build large buildings. They build one-story structures, maybe a story and a half, depending on how tall it is. But, so it's what these folks feel is necessary. So they feel that simple things are their basic, as long as their basic needs are met, they're good with it. Where white people always gotta have something more. They never seem to be satisfied. You gotta have the next best thing, or you're always wanting for something.
Yep.
And so to the red man to this day, those who walk the true red road, it's only what is necessary is what's valuable.
Yeah.
It's not what you'd like to have. Now it may be that, you know, you need a new bow and some new arrows or something, or, you know, and so you look at that, but you work towards those things. If you understand what creator gave you, you can go out and make your own arrows and your own bow and your own, you know, you don't have to buy it. Versus somebody that says, well, I want a new crossbow this year, and they go down and spend $5, $6, $7,000 on something, you know. Whereas somebody else might be able to go out into the sticks and literally make a bow and an arrow, you know, for nothing except for the time.
Yep.
So it depends on, you know, but here's the thing though, we're all given the instructions on how to survive. It depends on us as to how we use them.
Well, yeah, yeah, and you know, and then that's the thing. Are you greedy? Do you want the biggest, best bow? You want to, you know, I mean, how much do you gotta have? You know, you can make a simple bow, or you gotta have that latest bow that's made out of carbon fiber, and you know, and with a, you know, what are you hunting? You know, and sure, I understand people hunt and whatever, but that's the thing. It's always bigger, better, more technology. Got to have this, got to have that, and so it's always the next best thing, and they keep inventing. You know, it's like, remember back in the day, the first cell phone we got, it was just small and it was kind of big, but you just talk on it, right? Then it got to be the flip phone, and then texting, and so forth and so on. And now we got ones that do everything. You know, you can do everything, take pictures, have a clock, text, video call. You can use it as a computer, make, you know, do all kinds of stuff. And really, it's still a phone.
Yep.
You know, it just, you know, do you really need it? Would it be better to have, you know, the old days where you can just have like this and have a camera? You remember a camera where you actually take a picture? But now you got to have this phone. Well, it does video, and it does this, and it does that, and it does everything. Well, I don't need that camera anymore. You know
Well,
what I
you know
mean?
something, and I realize there are people who are getting hijacked and everything, and to folks who keep any type of financial records on a cell phone, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Have a checkbook, have a something, write it down. I make the bank send me a statement every month so I can look at it on paper. I have a copy. And so there are so many people that, you know, why in the world would you put financial transactions on your cell phone? I'm sorry. If oh, my bank records in this app and it does that, and I'm sorry that, and if you get in trouble, it's your own fault. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do not put anything financial on your cell phone.
You're just asking for trouble.
But you are, and especially this day and age where they've shown folks with cell phones that hack into cars and do all kinds of weird stuff. And so you don't know if you're standing, especially folks who live in cities, if there's somebody in the, you know, the Wendy's that you're in, that's, you know, you're a hot spot and it gets picked up and you ring something up and they get your credit card number and there you go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm an old-fashioned guy. I just got new checks in today. And somebody wants something, I don't write my credit card number on anything with an expiration date and all that kind of stuff. Even if it's to a doctor, they're getting a check from me. I'm sorry. I'm old school, but it's hard to hack the system with a check.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure they can, but who knows? You know, but
It's
not as easy.
It's just harder. They can do it, but you know, because they got your routing number and everything. But if you've got a credit card number with an expiration date, you know.
Yeah, and you're sending it digitally, you're sending it to everybody.
You can call up somebody and go, you know, I've got this number, and here's the number, and oh, here's the expiration date, blah, 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 because you send it to somebody else, you know, to pay a bill. Nah, I'm not doing that. you know.
That's right.
I don't have that much money.
That is so
Anyway,
right.
so y'all be careful and pay attention. And we're going to do this story now, boss man, and quit yapping about this other stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I'm ready whenever you are.
Oh, I'm ready, my friend.
Okay, the Great Wizard.
The Great Wizard. Yep.
All
And
right.
and for those folks that are keeping up, this is the next in line in the book that that one of the books that on PDF that my dear friend Robert sent me, and it's from the American Indian Fairy Tales, Snowbird, the Water Tiger, etc., by Margaret Compton, 1907.
And if anybody wants the PDF, I have it. Just let me know. Email me and I can send you this PDF. Not a problem. How is that?
So this story here is called The Great Wizard. Let me get a drink of coffee and salute everybody. I hope you're all doing well and staying warm and staying healthy as possible.
I'm sure they are. I know that it's been warming up out here, so life is good.
And by the way, I just went to 2 doctors today and had checkups for my heart and also my just general once a month checkup to see how everything's going. And my weight is still 179, 180 pounds. My blood pressure is still good. So let me tell you, folks, it really matters to stay healthy, okay? And to keep your weight down. So regardless of your age, one of the reasons when my doctor looked at me today and said, "You're really healthy for your age. You know that, don't you?" And I said, "Well, thank you. I appreciate it." So take care of yourself. And for those folks who might not think it, that they'll make it till the age of 70, trust me, take care of your body. It makes a difference as you get older.
I'm sure it does.
So the Great Wizard, Tangled Hair, son of the West Wind, was a giant in size, and his face was as black as the feathers of the crow. His hair was of twisted snakes, gray, black, and spotted, with an adder raising its copper-colored head for his crown, while a rattlesnake spread itself across his shoulders. He was the greatest of all wizards and could change himself into any bird or beast at will, could disguise his voice, and did both good and evil as he felt inclined. He lived with his grandmother, who had been thrown from the moon by a jealous rival. Their lodge was on the edge of the prairie, not far from the big seawater. He himself did not know his power until one day, while playing with a beautiful snake, whose colors were brighter than any of those upon his head, he found that by means of it, he could do magic. He caught the snake and kept it in a bowl of water, feeding it every day on birds and insects. By chance, he let fall some seeds, which were turned into birds as they touched the water, and the snake greedily devoured them. Then he discovered that everything he put into the water became alive. He went to the swamp where he had caught the snake for others, which he put into the bowl, happening to rub his eyes while his fingers were still wet. He was surprised to find how much clearer things at a distance appeared. He gathered some roots, powdered them, and put them into the water. Then he took a little of the water into his mouth and blew it out in a spray, which made a bright light. When he put the water on his eyes, he could see in the dark. By bathing his body with it, he could pass through narrow or slippery places. A feather dipped into it would shoot any bird at which it was aimed and would enter its body like an arrow. He was able to heal wounds and sicknesses and to conquer all his enemies. But for all this, he was a bad spirit nearly all his life. His father, the West Wind, had entrusted Tangled Hair's brothers with the care of 3/4 of the earth, the north, the south, and the east, but gave nothing to him, the youngest. When he was old enough to know how he had been slighted, he was very angry and sought to fight his father. He took his bearskin mittens and dipped them into the snake water, thereby making them strong with magic so that he could break off great boulders by merely striking them. He chased his father across the mountains, hurtling boulder after boulder at him until he drove him to the very edge of the earth. He would have killed the West Wind if he had dared, but he was afraid of his brothers who were friendly to one another, and he knew that he could not stand against the three. So he compelled his father to give him power over serpents, beasts, and monsters of all kinds, and to promise him a place in his own kingdom after he should have rid the earth of them. Having thus secured his share, he returned to his lodge, where he was sick for a long time from the wounds that he had received. One of his first adventures after he had recovered was capturing a great fish from which he took so much oil that when he poured it into a hollow in the woods, it formed a small lake, to which he invited all the animals for a feast. As fast as they arrived, he told them to jump in and drink. The bear went in first, followed by the deer and the opossum. The moose and the buffalo were late and did not get as much as the others. The partridge looked on until nearly all the oil was gone, while the hare and the marten were so long in coming that they did not get any. That is why animals differ so much in fatness. When they had done feasting, Tangled Hair took up his drum, beat upon it, and invited his guests to dance. He told them to pass around him in a circle, keeping their eyes shut all the time. When he saw a fat fowl pass him by, he wrung its neck, beating loudly on his drum to drown its cries and the noise of its fluttering. After killing each one, he would call out, "That's the way, my brother, that's the way." At last, a small duck, being suspicious of him, opened one eye and, seeing what he was doing, called out as loudly as she could, "Tangled Hair is killing us," and jumped and flew towards the water. Tangled Hair followed her, and just as she was getting into the water, gave her a kick, which flattened her back and straightened her legs out backward so that she could no longer walk on land, and her tail feathers are few to this day. The other birds took advantage of the confusion to fly away, and the animals ran off in all directions. After this, Tangled Hair set out to travel to see if there were any wizards greater than himself. He saw all the nations of red men and was returning quite satisfied when he met a great magician in the form of an old wolf who was journeying with 6 young ones. As soon as the wolf saw him, he told the whelps to keep out of the way, for Tangled Hair's fame for cruelty and wickedness had been carried everywhere by the animals and birds he had tried to kill. As the young wolves were running off, Tangled Hair said to them, "My grandchildren, where are you going? Stop, and I will go with you." The old wolf was watching him and came up in time to answer. We are going to a place where we can find most game, where we may pass the winter. Tangled Hair said he would like to go. He would like to go with him and ask the old wolf to change him into a wolf. Now, this was very foolish, for he thereby lost his power. Whereas if he had changed himself into one, he might still have kept it. But even the greatest wizard did not know everything. The old wolf was only too glad to grant his wish and changed him into a wolf like himself. Tangled Hair was not satisfied and asked to be made a little larger. The wolf made him larger, and as he was still dissatisfied, he made him twice as large as the other. Tangled Hair was better pleased, but he still thought that he might be improved. So he said to the old wolf, "Do please make my tail a little larger and more bushy." The wolf did this, and Tangled Hair found a large tail very heavy to drag about with him. Presently, they came to the bottom of a ravine, up which they rushed into the thick woods, where they discovered the track of a moose. The young wolves followed it, while the old wolf and Tangled Hair walked on after them, taking their time. "Which do you think is the swiftest runner among my whelps?" said the wolf. "Why, the foremost one that takes such long leaps," said Tangled Hair. The old wolf laughed sneeringly. "You are mistaken," he said. "He will soon tire out. The one who seems to be slowest will capture the game." Shortly afterward, they reached a place where one of the young wolves had dropped a small bundle. "Pick it up," said the wolf to Tangled Hair. "No," he replied. "What do I want with a dirty dog skin?" The wolf took it up, and it was turned into a beautiful robe. "I will carry it now," said Tangled Hair. "Oh, no," said the wolf. "I cannot trust you with a robe of pearls." And immediately the robe shone, for nothing could be seen but pearls. They had gone about 6 arrow flights further when they saw a broken tooth that one of the young wolves had dropped in biting at the moose as it passed. "Tangled Hair," said the wolf, "one of the children has shot at the game. Pick up his arrow." "No," he replied. "What do I want with a dirty dog's tooth?" The old wolf took it up, and it became a beautiful silver arrow. They found that the young wolves had killed a very fat moose. Tangled Hair was hungry, but the wolf charmed him so that he saw nothing but the bones picked bare. After a time, the wolf gave him a heap of fresh, ruddy meat cut. So it seemed to Tangled Hair from the skeleton. "How firm it is!" he exclaimed. "Yes," answered the wolf, "our game always is. It is not a long tail that makes the best hunter." Tangled Hair was a good hunter when he was not too lazy to undertake the chase. One day he went out and killed a large, fat moose. But having lived well in the wolf's lodge, he was not very hungry, and so turned the carcass from side to side, uncertain where to begin. He had learned to dread the ridicule of the wolves, who were always showing him how little he knew as a wolf, yet he could not change himself into a man again. "If I begin at the head," he said, "they will say I ate it backwards. If I cut the side first, they will say I ate it sideways." He turned it round so that the hind quarter was in front of him. "If I begin here, they will say I ate it forwards. but he began to be hungry. So I said, I will begin here. Let them say what they will. He cut a piece off the flank and was just about to put it in his mouth when he heard the branches of a large tree creaking. Stop, stop, he said to the tree, for the sound annoyed him. The tree paid no attention to him, so he threw down his meat, exclaiming, I cannot eat with such a noise about. He climbed the tree and was pulling at the branch, which by rubbing against another had caused the creaking, when it was suddenly blown towards him and his paw was caught so that he could not get out. Pretty soon a pack of wolves came along and he called out to them, Go away, go away. The chief of the wolves knew Tanglehair's voice and said to the others, Let us go on, for I am sure he has something there he does not want us to see. They found the moose and began eating it. Tanglehair could not get to them, so they finished the animal, leaving nothing but the bones. After they had gone, a storm arose which blew the branches of the trees apart, and Tanglehair was able to get out, but he had to go home hungry. The next day, the old wolf said to him, My brother, I am going to leave you, for we cannot live together always. Let me have one of your children for my grandson, said Tanglehair. The old wolf left the one who was the best hunter and also the lodge. Tanglehair was disenchanted after the wolves had gone, and when he assumed his natural shape, his power as a wizard came back. He was very fond of his grandson and took good care of him, giving much thought night and day to his welfare. One day he said to him, My grandson, I dreamed of you last night, and I feel that trouble will come to you unless you will heed what I say. You must not cross the lake that lies in the thick woods. No matter what may the need or how tired you may be, go around it, even though the ice looks strong and safe. In the early spring, when the ice was breaking up on the lakes and the rivers, the little wolf came to the edge of the water late in the evening. He was tired, and it was such a long way around. He stood and thought to himself, My grandfather is too cautious about this lake. And he tried the ice with his foot, pressing his weight upon it. It seemed strong to him, so he ventured to cross. He had not gone halfway, however, when it broke, and he fell in and was seized by the serpents whose lodge was under the water. Tanglehair guessed what had happened to him when night came, and again the day, and he did not return. He mourned many days, first in his lodge, then by a small brook that ran into the lake. A bird that had been watching him said, What are you doing here? Nothing, said Tanglehair, but can you tell me who lives in this lake? Yes, said the bird, the Prince of Serpents lives here, and I am set by him to watch for the body of Tanglehair's grandson, whom they killed 3 moons since. You are Tanglehair, are you not? No, was the answer. Why do you think he would wish to come here? Tell me about these serpents. The bird pointed to a beautiful beach of white sand, where he said the serpents came just after midday to bask in the sun. You may know when they are coming, said he, because all the ripples will disappear and the water will be smooth and still before they rise. Thank you, said Tanglehair. I am the wizard Tanglehair. Do not fear me. Come and I will give you a reward. The bird went with him, and Tanglehair placed a white medal around his neck. which the kingfisher wears to this day. While putting it on, he tried to wring the bird's neck. He did this for fear it might go to the serpents and tell them he was watching for them. It escaped, however, with only the crown feathers ruffled. He went to the beach of the white sand and, changing himself into an oak stump, waited for the serpents. Before long, the weather became smooth as the lake of oil he himself had once made. Soon, hundreds of serpents came crawling up on the beach. The prince was beautifully white. The others were red and yellow. The prince spoke to the others and said, I never saw that black stump there before. It may be the wizard Chataingier. Then one of the largest serpents went to the stump and coiled itself round the top, pressing it very hard. The greatest pressure was on Chataingier's throat, and he was just ready to cry out when the serpent let go. 8 of the others did the same thing to him, but each let go just in time. Then they coiled themselves up on the beach near their prince, and after a long time fell asleep. Chataingier was watching them closely, and when he saw the last one breathing heavily in sleep, he took his bow and arrows and stepped cautiously about until he was near the prince, whom he shot and wounded. The serpents were roused by his cry, and plunging into the water, they lashed the waves so that a great flood was raised, and Chataingier was nearly drowned. He climbed into a tall tree, and when the water was up to his chin, he looked about for some means of escape. He saw a loon and said to him, Dive down, my brother, and bring up some earth so that I can make a new world. The bird obeyed him, but came up lifeless. He next asked the muskrat to do him the service and promised him, if he succeeded, a chain of beautiful little lakes surrounded by rushes for his lodge in the future. The muskrat dived down, but floated up senselessly. Chataingier took the body and breathed into the nostrils, which restored the animal to life. It tried again and came up the second time, senseless, but it had some earth in its paws. Chataingier charmed the earth till it spread out into an island and then into a new world. As he was walking upon it, he met an old woman, the mother of the prince of serpents, looking for herbs to cure her son. She had a pack of cedar cords on her back. In answer to his questions, she said she intended it for a snare for Chataingier. Excuse me. Having found out all he wished, Chataingier killed her, took off her skin, wrapped it about him, and placing the cedar cord on his back, went to her lodge. There he saw the skin of his beloved grandson hanging in the doorway. This made him so angry that he could hardly keep up the disguise. He sat down outside the door and began weaving a snare of the cedar cord, rocking himself to and fro and sobbing like an old woman. Someone called to him to make less noise and to come and attend to the prince. He put down the snare and, wiping his eyes, went in, singing the songs the old woman had told him would cure her son. No one suspected him, and he pretended to make ready to pull out the arrow, which he found was not deeply embedded in the prince's side. Instead of pulling it out, he gave it a sudden thrust and killed the prince. But he had used so much force that he burst the old woman's skin. The serpents hissed, and he fled quickly from the place. He took refuge with the badger, and with its help, he threw a wall of earth against the opening of their lodge so that no one could get at him. They had another opening behind the rock to which they could bring in food so that they could not be starved out by the serpents. Tangled Hair soon grew tired of living underground, so he started to go out, and as the badger stood in his way and did not move quickly enough to please him, he kicked the poor animal and killed him. He then ran back towards the serpent's lodge, finding the dead body of the prince, which the serpents, in their haste to follow him, had left unburied. He put the skin around him and went boldly up to the serpent tribe. They were so frightened that they fell into the lake and never again ventured forth. After many years of wickedness, Tangled Hair repented and traveled to the end of the earth, where he built himself a lodge and tried by good deeds to rid himself of remembrances. But even there he was a terror to men and beasts. Having shown, however, that he was really sorry for his misdeeds, his father, the West Wind, gave him a part of his kingdom. He went to live beyond the Rocky Mountains and took the name of the Northwest Wind. How about that for a story?
Wow. That was good.
He was a nasty old.
Yes.
He tried to do good things and ended up doing bad. I mean, it was wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, no matter what you do good things, sometimes they turn out bad and good for some. It's all in everybody's perspective. A good thing can be for one guy and bad for somebody else. Or
Yeah,
you can do something bad, and it turns out good,
And not only that, so there are people who, I've known people. I was in jail for a year and have been around some showing up, mean and nasty bad people. And like, why did you do that? Well, I just did it. They really didn't think about it. Well, why did you steal that? It was there. Well, why did you do it?
Yeah.
And so there are some times in life, and most normal people say, well, I would never do that. Probably not. But there are some folks, though, that just by their nature, and I knew some of them folks that got me in trouble years ago, just by hanging around them. And then all of a sudden you go, what did you do? Well, did you just steal something from that store? Yeah. Well, what the hell? I had money. I'd have bought it, and then so now you're an accomplice.
Yeah.
Just anyway. So, but yeah. So, our destiny is chosen every day, and sometimes minute by minute. And so for folks who say, well, I'm just stuck. Yeah, well, sometimes there are certain times in my life and in other folks' life too. Sometimes, whatever's going on today, it ain't going to be going on Friday. It's just not. It may be similar, might be something left over from today, but here's the thing. Whatever today's problems are ain't going to be the same tomorrow or the next day. They might be carried over, but they're not going to be the same. And so it's up to you to make sure that you don't repeat, stupid mistakes. You try to have a little bit of insight and foresight and so forth. And so, and having a little bit of insight and foresight earlier, I picked a card.
Well, absolutely. I knew it.
I knew he was fixing it. So this was my my segue into the. So card today is frog, but it is upside down. So but frog is cleansing. So sing, frog, sing, call the rains, quench the dryness, cleanse the earth, then fill me up again. Frog sings the songs that bring the rain and make the dirt road more bearable. Frog medicine is akin to water energy and the east on the medicine wheel. Frog teaches us how to honor our tears, for they cleanse the soul. All water rights belong to Frog, including all initiations by water. Water prepares and cleanses the body for sacred ceremony. It is the element we understand best in the womb. Frog, like ourselves, is a polywog in the fetal waters and only learns to hop after it experiences the world of fluidity. I love that line right there. The polywog of fetal waters and only learns to hop after it experiences the world of fluidity. Now, an old codger like me who's been out of the womb for a long time doesn't remember that fluidity. But, younger folks are still kind of imbued with it anyway. The transformation into adulthood prepares Frog for its power to call in the waters of the skies, the rain, and knowing the element of water. So this is key to tonight's lesson, call in the element of water. Frog can sing the song that calls the rain to the earth. When the ponds are dry, Frog calls upon the thunder beings to cleanse and replenish the earth with water. Like Frog, we are asked to know when it is time to refresh, purify, and refill the coffers of the soul. If Frog hopped into your cards today, choose today, its ribbit may be calling in the cleansing you may need. If you were to look at where you are today, would you use any of the following words to describe your condition? Tired, overloaded, harried, frustrated, guilty, itchy, nervous, at a loss, empty, or weakened. If so, take a break and allow yourself to bathe in the waters of Frog medicine. This could mean a long, relaxing bath, disconnecting the phone, yelling stop, or taking in deep, cleansing breaths. The key thought is to find a way to rid yourself of distractions and replace the mud with clear energy. Then replenish your parched spirit, body, and mind. Now, that's the upright. Now, contrary, Frog slipped in the mud and is lying on its back, unable to right itself. Get ready for more mud in your eye. Well, that's a pleasant thought. The contrary position of Frog can denote an unwillingness on your part to wipe the mire out of your life. We were kind of talking about this earlier, that sometimes you have to, do you really need Netflix and Hulu and all these, can you get by with one or two? And anyway, but the contrary position of Frog can denote an unwillingness on your part to wipe the mire out of your life. Mud can turn from mire to bog to quicksand if you don't recognize its effect on your present situation. Is someone draining your energy? Are you allowing yourself to ride down the tubes with them? Have you tried to settle somebody else's quarrel and gotten in the line of fire? Well, then stop. Recognize what it is that is mucking up the lily pad. Swim with Frog. Frog's bug eyes see it all. Dive deeply and then hop to the next lily pad to catch the sun. In this way, you may see exactly what has been draining your energy. Now, after the first of the year, there's just a lot of weirdness going on in this planet. And so, there are a lot of things that people are worried about and so forth, and that will drain your energy, my friends. Be careful. At times, all of life's activities can be overwhelming. I just kind of said that. And everyone occasionally needs a break. Contrary Frog can signal one of these moments but can also portend a time of feeling waterlogged. In feeling waterlogged, you may be dealing with too many emotions or feelings. And that's what some folks are going through right now. It's just too much. This is to say that the world is too much with you, or that you have immersed yourself in one idea or activity to the exclusions of all other facets of your life. If this is the case, a break from the routine is suggested. Hop to other lily pads or visit other ponds for a while. Negativity is drawn to you when you refuse to give yourself the time and space needed to assume a new viewpoint. And I kind of sort of stated that earlier. Sometimes you just have to let time go by. You know, oh, the world is going to end today. Yeah, but it might look okay by Friday, you know. So negativity is drawn to you when you refuse to give yourself the time and space needed to assume a new viewpoint. So if today's a bad day, take a step back and let it rest. Frog in the contrary position is an omen that you are courting disaster if you don't stop and smell the lilies, eat some flies, bask in the sun, and ribbit until the rain comes to refill your spirit again. So be careful if you're overwhelming yourself or worrying about stuff that, you know, there are folks who are, and this is just an example, but, you know, the Pope died suspiciously, I might add, to my point of view, on the last day of the year. And so there are folks who are, you know, Christian Catholic folks who are really, 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 really worried about the Catholic Church and what's going to happen with the Pope and stuff. Now, not to say that that's not an important thing, but for the folks who are worrying about it, they can't do nothing about it. So they just need to, that's just an example. Just take a step back and just watch what happens and pray for a good outcome. But some of these folks that are literally going bat bananas, you know, over what's going to happen and how's it going to turn out, blah, 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 blah. Just chill.
Yeah. Well, you know, he was retired anyway. You know, it ain't like a whole lot's going to change.
Yeah, there's going to be a telltale book that comes out by one of the guys that was the real Pope's right-hand guy. So we're going to find out some stuff if he don't get killed.
Yeah.
The Vatican has got some strange stuff, but anyway, but to the point, there are a lot of other subjects. That was just an example. But folks are, you know, oh, for the last 2 years, we've been hearing about the reset. It still ain't happened. We've been hearing about that everything's going to go digital and everything's going to get changed. It ain't happened yet. All the gold and all the silver and everything for the last 5 or 10 years, folks have been swearing you got to get this or you ain't going to make it. It ain't happened yet. I ain't saying that it won't, but
yeah. Well, until exactly, that's the thing. It's you know, pay attention, because the moment you quit paying attention, next thing you know, it's right there. And before it actually happens, that's when you got time to prepare. And when you're prepared, you're not scared, right?
yep. And one of the things over the years, you know, I had to make a determination. And when I learned about them poor folks down in Mexico that are sitting on top of all that silver, who can't sell it and they can't eat it and they're starving to death and because of the situation. And it's like, so what do you do? Well, I don't want to buy silver. I can't eat it. And when can I trade it if there's somebody out there? So I realized that the important things were like tools, a couple of shovels, a couple of axes, things you don't necessarily have to plug in. You know, they always come in handy, especially in a tight. So, you know, I don't have any gold or silver or anything like that, but I've got tools.
Yes.
I've
Tools are
got
important.
tools.
Tools are important.
And if
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
doesn't have a tool, they will bring you gold or silver to borrow it or buy it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you've got 3 or 4 shovels and you only need one, um,
Yeah. Yeah. You
so
got,
but to that point, so you know, pay attention to what is really important. You know, is it the gold and the silver? Can you really eat that? If the shelves are empty, what good's it going to do you? You know, I mean,
well, and
if you're that worried about stuff, you
but
know, just
see,
saying.
you're right. It depends on where you're at. So,
Right.
like, if you live in the city and you live in an apartment building, having gold and silver might be a good idea because you can't store shovels in your domicile there.
Yep.
But like you live in the country and you may not have any gold and silver, but you got a lot of place to put shovels. You know, but
I do.
really,
I understand.
that is so true. I mean, think about the guy who lives in town. He can't have a chicken, but you could have a chicken and you could, have eggs. And then he would gladly trade you some of that gold and silver he's got for an egg.
Yeah, especially the price of some of these for the price of a dozen eggs these days. Who
Yeah.
would have thought?
Yes.
So, but anyway, I need to clean out my chicken pen and get chickens again because I used to have, about 20 chickens at one time. So,
Yeah,
and-
I mean, like when I started out raising chickens here in North Dakota, when I had 6 chickens and all 6 chickens were laying eggs, so I got 6 eggs a day. And then one kind of was off and on, so I was getting 5 eggs a day. Excuse my voice. But still, that's more than you can eat.
right. And if you don't eat eggs for a day, then you just saved up. And so, yeah. And I traded out eggs back in the day because I don't bake well. And
Yeah.
so I would trade eggs for baked goods.
Yeah, there you go. And then that's
When
the
you
thing.
make a pie, Miss Sally, I want one too, and then here's an extra dozen eggs because I want a pie, but anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, all good stuff.
All right, my friend. Well,
All right,
it's been a great week so far. I
that's
guess
right.
it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. I gotta go to work tomorrow, so we should wrap it up here. But I want everybody to say, know that, times are tough, like we're talking about, and I would encourage everybody to do something nice. Help out your neighbor if they're hungry. If you got some extra canned goods, maybe think about donating a few if you got more than your share to the food pantry or something. That it is one of those things. And if you got eggs, maybe give them to your neighbor
Yep.
or your somebody who could use them if you raise some chickens. They in the long run, it'll all come back to you in a good way.
Yep.
So
And
those are my thoughts.
Yep. And my dear neighbors, for those who have been on my channel, Miss Sheila and Miss Ricky that live next door to me, they bring me meals once in a while, just out of the blue. And God bless them every time that they do, because I don't cook a lot for myself. So, but they have brought me some excellent meals over the last year and a half, and I can't thank them enough. And so, they might not get anything back, but I'm praying for them. You know what I mean? I just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to the universe that somebody gives a damn enough to bring you a home cooked meal.
That's right.
The value of a home cooked meal. Oh my God, deviled eggs for God's sakes. Bring me some deviled eggs. Oh yeah, because I can't make them, So, but anyway,
Yeah.
so thank you to the universe and thank you to my neighbors and those folks who have, brought me deviled eggs.
I love it. I love it. That makes me want to have a taste for deviled eggs. Go figure.
Oh man,
Nothing better. Anyway, that's if you like that stuff. People like all kind. You can make so much stuff with eggs. But anyway, with that being said, Remember, everybody, go out, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all. Peace,
Cheers.
everybody. There.